We have a youth behavioral health crisis right now.
We've been talking about students and new statewide restrictions proposed on their cell phones use in class. Now, a local senator, as you heard, is proposing his own version of the bill. Western Mass News reporter Wesley Days live tonight with his conversation with Senator John Velis. And Wesley, they're pretty similar, but take a different approach on how the policy will work.
Exactly, Chris. States versus cities approach here. You heard at 4 and 5 this afternoon, hopefully you were watching us, how state leaders are pushing for a formal policy rollout, but Velis wants it to be a district approach. The focus of the policy remains the same, though. How do we get the phones down and the attentions of the students and mental health up? It's called an Act to Protect Children's Learning, Focus, and Emotional Health during school hours. Similar to the Study Act, it creates a bell-to-bell ban on cell phone usage throughout the school day with obvious medical and emergency exceptions. The difference between this act versus the Study Act is it tackles social media, but not as in depth. There's obvious restrictions to keep students away from the social media platforms, but not focusing on educating on the harmful effects that comes into play in another bill. Listen to Senator Velis explain why this bill is necessary now.
The data is now clear. It's I would argue irrefutable right now that having access to a smartphone during school hours, there are impacts academically. There is the social emotional component of it, which is there's also data and science telling us that relationships and meaningful connections, right? You and I having a conversation, talking to each other are just not happening the way they used to.
Well, Velis says he could see his bill and the Study Act being combined eventually into one. I should also mention his bill also mentions that districts have to check in with data every year. We'll, of course, keep you updated on how this legislation plays out. If you want more details on the Study Act, head over to our website, westernmassnews.com. Reporting live in studio, Wesley Days, Western Mass News.
Wesley, thank you for that live report. In Holyoke now, a quality of